Hey everybody, welcome to a new episode of Who's That Anime. We've finally done it. We got through Chargeman Ken in record time. And now we're talking about Pluto, which is far superior in every way from Chargeman Ken. No one's going to be making fun of this anime, not even the
Nope,
Japanese.
nope, they
And
shouldn't.
and the live action that they had, that was a weird live action play.
Yes,
Of the suicidal bomb one, well.
you are correct. That was very unusual, shall we say.
There's like 5 Chargeman Kens,
Ah, what a show.
one sister, one robot. Anyway,
Yeah.
uh, we're not here to talk about that anymore.
No, we're here to
But,
talk about something really, really cool.
uh, yeah.
So starting off with this one,
hmm
but you were so excited to tell everyone that we'd finished Chargeman Ken, you did not introduce us.
Oh, we don't need any introduction anymore. We're, what,
No,
163 episodes in. You know who we are. It's Steve and Colin,
that's
you
us.
lovable hosts.
We are lovable.
I think we're
That is for
lovable.
sure.
I like to say we're lovable.
I think so.
Yeah.
So I think we spoke a little bit about this before, and I was saying that I was sure that this was based on the works of the author of Astro Boy, uh, Osamu Tezuka, and obviously it screams of it in terms of its style. But it turns out it's just based on that. I think we identified that in a previous show too. So
Hmm.
interestingly, this obviously started off as a manga series, as they normally do. I think it ran from 2003 to 2009. Sold a shitload of copies, 8.5 million copies,
Yeah. Wow.
which is cool, like really cool. And the other part of this that I don't think I ever really appreciated is it's written by the same guy as Monster.
All right. We're going to get through this then.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
Because how
um,
many times have you tried to watch Monster?
so many. I've
I,
read it now, and I love it, but for some reason I just cannot get through it,
mm.
and I don't know why that is, but that's the thing that I have for some reason struggled with. Because I'm pretty sure it was the same guy that did Monster. I looked at this.
I
Yeah,
think.
it's written and illustrated by Naoki Urasawa. And yeah, he did Monster, which is another big hit for him. He basically came off the back of that in 2001, 2 years in between, and then came back with this and also sold crazy amounts with this. So
Uh-huh.
very, very cool. It also seems that the rights to this as a live action production were sold in 2010, but nothing's ever been done about it.
Well, I don't know. Live action.
There's a play,
Oh, back to
there's
the
a stage
play.
show, there's a stage show.
Is it is it better than Chargeman Ken's play?
It does not review as well as the show, shall we say?
Oh, okay.
Um, but I am really excited to talk about this because I this is the shit I love. Like this was so unique and interesting and fascinating to me. Like for something, I think the first episode's like what 70 minutes, give or take. It's like an hour and 10.
Oh, some of that, yeah.
Yeah, like there's a lot happens in that hour and 10.
Yeah, there is. There is. So,
Starting off
mhm.
with a big fire in the middle of a mountain range in a forest.
uh, does it start there? I think,
Yeah,
yeah.
it starts with the forest, and it starts with a scientist running in, screaming about his how his boy has been injured. Something's wrong. Something's happened to him.
Yeah, and
It's very confusing.
he's offline. Yeah.
Yeah. And we see as the kind of camera pans along the impact crater of what it looks like's happened. There is the head of a robot that we'll come to find out is called Mont Blanc.
Yeah.
And it has it's like in between tree branches or something that are kind of forming a V out of his head.
Yeah.
Really gorgeously animated and looks incredible
It's
and
got
sounds
money.
incredible so far. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's super nice already.
I don't know. I mean, you know how we talk about bonus episodes being palate cleansers?
Yeah.
I mean, Ken certainly was a palate cleanser.
Yes. Yes.
In more ways than one.
It took my palate and it destroyed it, and I'm now building it back up.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
it's important.
Yeah. So there's that. So yeah. So there's fire. There's a head. Then it cuts
Yep.
into a dream sequence of someone looking at a pile of blood.
Hmm.
And then wakes up. Seems like it's this guy wakes up and goes, "Oh, I had that dream," type thing. And then his wife comes in and says, "Oh, you've been overworked. We should go on a holiday." He's like, "No, I can't. I'm okay." Then he sits down for breakfast, sees the Mont Blanc uh, news coverage, turns it off, then sticks his fingers in his ears because that's how he gets calls.
Yep.
And he's got a new
And
job.
we learn very quickly that he is not specifically human, which is kind of interesting. Obviously, I think like my immediate reaction is, of course, he has a wife, he has a home life. She's talking about how he's overworked. He's a robot. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, those are not things I associate with
Oh,
robots.
I don't think we'll really learn that until a bit later after he leaves the kitchen. Because he goes,
I
"Ah,
kind of
yeah, I think we should go on a holiday." It's like, wait, and his wife's taken aback with it. That's not like
yeah.
you.
I must admit, I immediately knew that this was the case because I was like, no, he's probably a robot because he's just listening to a call in his head and it's not an earpiece that he's just had in all the time. But
Oh,
yeah, fair point.
they're in the future. Maybe they got these
Yeah, I
implants.
guess so. Maybe.
Uh,
You're right.
but
I made the assumption.
I also knew it because I saw the trailer where he's
Uh,
identified as a robot. It's like, oh, and then it's
yeah.
like, wait, is he a robot? Because this is kind of human. Like, anyway. So this goes to work as a detective. He's a detective, and he's been called
Yep.
to a homicide. And he walks in and basically starts picking up some of the crime scene. And then the police man in charge of the scene is like, "Hey, stop messing with my scene of crimes." And then his assistant goes, "I think this is the guy we called for." "Oh, right, yeah, we were expecting him."
So sorry about that.
Yeah. And then we're going to check it to see if it's stolen because, well, the place is pretty much a bomb site. Like the walls
Yeah.
are cracked and everything's beaten up. And he goes, "No, from what I can see, nothing's been stolen. This is straight up murder, pretty much." And
Essentially, this is the home of Bernard Lank, who is basically kind of an advocate for robot rights. Um, and which is a significant murder you might lead to believe in these circumstances. So
yeah, his head is buried in what looks like a girder of some sort, which is bent up the way to form
yep.
horns.
Suspiciously, the same kind of horns that Mont Blanc had.
Yeah, and then they make this link to that, and it's like, well, that's a bit of a far fetch to go on, but
Because the thing is, I guess, like it's probably worth pointing out is that the Mont Blanc incident happened in Switzerland. This seems to take place in Europe, effectively, and I believe this must be in Germany. So it's not very far away from
no,
from Switzerland, not as far
Oh,
away as say in America or Japan.
or
So
the Alps, yeah.
yeah,
Um,
uh, and I think the police agency he is with is Europol, so kind of like an Interpol placeholder.
yeah, yeah. So he kind of specs like that, and then they get a call in that found a suspect, and he's attacked some dudes at a checkpoint, which because they obviously barricade the roads,
Yep.
and they go down, see that there's one guy in a human injured, and his um, robot counterpart friend is also murdered.
Robbie
Robbie
is his
the
name. Robbie the robot.
Robbie the robot.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah, he's like a robot constable. And yeah, he's been messed up. Sadly, he
yeah,
didn't make it.
yeah. And then they get a call in and says, "Oh, suspects down in Old Town." Uh, and this is where I realised that he is a robot because he just straight off leaps off like the highway, which is like
A
a
good 50,
fly
60 feet up.
a good flyover over the city and just legs it because they're like,
I do like his exit. He's just like, well, gotta go.
"Yeah, let's do it. I'm doing this," and then the police say, "So what? What are you doing, madman?" And then he tracks in the suspect into like an old church or something,
Yeah,
and
very
then
cool sequence in there, I think, as well. He like identifies that the guy is strung out,
yeah,
having just taken drugs at a certain time.
40 minutes
He
ago.
Yeah, and like presupposes like, oh, I kind of see how this went, you know. And then what is he like? Kind of tries to. He thinks he's convinced him to. I don't know. No, he just basically charges him. He charges Gesicht, and
Hmm.
he's having none of it, and just stands fast. Takes a big swipe with the pipe and smashes Gesicht right upside the head. And just in case you were ever wondering, I wonder if he's a robot. After taking a phone call in his head and jumping off a flyover, he is, because he just took a steel pipe to the head and it did not phase him in the slightest.
Yeah, not to mention that is he transferred his hand into a gun
He did also do that, yeah.
at the
Like, yeah,
door.
you're right. Actually, that's another question in between. Is like he did also transform his hand into a gun, which is
Yeah,
cool as fuck. Real
yeah,
cool.
yeah. So he comes in and kind of reasons right. It's like I know all about the stuff. I've worked out why you done it. If you come in and without any further incident, then we're not going to do this. And then he kind of disarms him, and then the guy says, "Oh, you're going to shoot me?" It's like, "No, I can't. It's just robot protocols won't let me do that." But
Yep.
it's sleeping
Can't kill
gas.
you. Can't kill you, sadly. I can kick the shit out of you, which he does.
I don't know. He just disarms him, puts him to
He
sleep.
gives him a good punt in the side, which is
Yeah,
awesome.
I mean that's disarming the guy.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and then I think it cuts to does, does it cut to him going making the call to Robbie's wife because Robbie has a
He
wife.
does, yeah.
Which
Again, I think this is just like world building here is really cool. There's lots of gorgeous shots of the city and lots of mystique around the world. Like, you know, we're talking about like Mont Blanc is described as this kind of hero robot that everybody loved, and you know the kind of sadness that swept the nation since his death is significant. And you know, like we're saying, is like here's Kasich, who is a robot who has a home life with what seems to be a human woman, maybe not. But here we find, you know, that he is now going to contacting Robbie, the robot constable's wife, who is just she's a kind of a maid droid looking thing.
oh yeah, just she's just basically what you expect a kind of robot would look like. Very robotic. So is Robbie though. Look very robotic with
Yeah,
his head mashed in by the
it's
pipe.
very like you're totally right. It's very interesting. Like, you know, you have Gesicht and his wife were a very different look, and then
Yeah,
obviously you have Robbie and his wife, very very obviously robotic.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, so he goes there and breaks the bad news, and she's like, "Oh, right." I'm a maid type thing. Works housewife kind of looks like a maid.
Yep,
Kind of looks like the maid from the Jetsons.
the Jetsons. Yeah, a little bit,
Uh,
a
a
little
little
bit.
bit, not so square, more rounded.
No, yep.
Um, and he then kind of like offers her like, "Oh, I can wipe your memories if you want that." And she says, "No, no, I want to keep the memories."
I really liked that. Like, it's very empathetic.
Yeah.
Um, really kind of somber moment in the show already, which is like already quite a. It's a very sad show.
Hmm.
Does it? There's like I don't think it seems that society is in a bad place, but it definitely feels like quite bleak. The things that are happening are causing significant upset, and it seems like it's interesting. And yeah, like I really like that where he offers like I can we can just forget. You can just forget, and she's like, no, I just don't want to. It's I think is very humanizing in a really unique way in this circumstance. So
Yeah.
yeah, super cool.
Yeah. And then I think it cuts to him getting maintenance diagnostics where he's having the dream again.
Hmm.
He has a wee chat with his lab technician,
His physician,
physician,
yeah,
professor,
yeah,
basically talking about things. Oh, everything's good, but yeah, even robots can get overworked, type thing.
yeah.
So he says, maybe you shouldn't do that. Or is that?
I think it is around this point. He does. I think we're also at the point where, like, he goes to the HQ to tell them that, hey, these are the photos from the crime scenes, and that I think that's when we see the comparisons between Bernard and Mont Blanc. Is like, oh, these like this looks pretty much the same. So I think
Hmm.
there's something going on here, and I think Gesicht's running theory is like something he didn't sense a human at the crime scene.
Yeah.
Like nobody had been there other than obviously the deceased.
Hmm.
Um, so his current working theory is basically that there's a rogue robot that is has done this, and that I think is what's called Article 13, which is a robot shall not be able to harm or kill. Like there's something has happened with that.
Yeah. I think
Um,
that came in force 8 years because they do mention something
yes,
like, oh, like that incident 8 years ago, and
yeah,
that's reference again because he goes and visit the the criminal. It did that thing 8 years ago in his locked up shell, in his lockup,
yeah.
and he's made of different alloys. So he's protected from like EMZ, EMZ stuff.
Oh, yes,
Because he says you need you're a robot. Says the security guy. Yeah, I'm a robot. You need this. It's like no, I'm okay. I'm practicing that shit. Um, so yeah, he goes in, climbs underneath the big cowl trips that they barricade this guy in with. Not like it's not like in any foreign prison. He's just like in this hole with a spear in his chest,
yeah,
and he talks to the guy, and the guy is like, "Oh yeah, you're this model, the one of the finest AI detectives models around." It's like yeah, and then he says, "Oh, we can swap memory chips." I thought it was going to be kind of
yeah.
like a cycle scene.
I, I must admit, there's an element of Silence of the Lambs to this
Yeah.
to me. I do think the idea of there having been an incident around a robot related murder, and a robot no, to that extent as well that is quite willing to continue to do that. I think that's the thing that's kind of it's not like no accident, no sort of it's just they would be willing to kill again, and the idea that they're sort of detained
Mm-hmm.
in this prison, like pinned down with the huge like
Spear.
a big spear,
Yeah.
and kind of just the tone of it is really really interesting. It's very sinister. Um,
Yeah.
But yeah, again like all beautifully shot. I think we're watching. I mean, I presume you're watching the dub.
Hmm. Yeah.
I actually think the voice casting is really good so far. Like I've loved it. Um,
Hmm.
I think the performances are top notch, and I really like this scene.
Yeah.
Um, it's very cool.
Was yeah. So it's basically saying that his AI got checked out, and the killer's AI got checked out, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's no flaws in that. I just went and did it. No regrets. Just did it.
Yeah,
Type thing. And he shared the pictures, and he was like, "Oh, by the way, there's like the only people who'll be able to do that with these particular robots are is people who are military, old military robots, and as far as we know, there's only 6 still about,
yes. There is
including ones in
sorry,
the
go on.
cell. There's like
Yes, that's right.
I don't know if that was like him and uh, what's his name? This bank locked up. He's referring to.
Yeah, yeah. I think I think we've potentially gone over a bit because I feel like there's a bit where uh
He does go back to the Robbie's wife.
he does, but that's after this. Is there
Yeah.
not a bit where he talks about? I feel like he visits the scientist from the start of the show.
Oh yeah, he does. Yeah, he goes up in the mountain. I remember that bit because the scientist at the beginning of the show was like, "Yeah, this is my block. He was blocked by everyone, gentle,
Yeah,
kind, blah blah blah." And then down in the bottom of the valley, they started hearing the announcements were made at the memorial, and then like, how are you hearing that? You're at the top of the hill. That is deafening everyone down there.
but yeah, we kind of like I think there's like discussion about how they'd wanted to build a statue of Mont Blanc, and he was like, "No, I don't like. I appreciate that, but I don't think
Mhm.
there should be a statue because it would ruin the beauty of the Alps." Like Mont
Yeah,
Blanc was which is again like a really fascinating character trait thing is that he was a proponent of nature and humans' interaction with it, being a robot. Like
yeah,
he was, wanted there to be a coexistence with the planet and the Earth, and it's just really really cool. I think there's a woman who like divulges some information about like Mont Blanc being a hero robot in the war. There's a robot war essentially.
yeah, yeah. There was a robot war. He was the hero. Uh, I don't know if that later though. That might be later with
No, I
the
feel does that not happen at that point? And then
maybe
like
maybe it was because there was an announcement happened when they were making the memorial for him.
yeah,
Oh
because I think
yeah,
she like
because
mentions like him being like he's a poet as well, and
yeah, he was. Uh, this was before pretty much going to his physio because his physio
yeah,
mentions that he couldn't turn it, watch it all because he would just start crying. It shows
that's
how
right.
much he loved.
And yeah, the scientist like says how all the people who are like the construction workers all around there like they're not doing that for any money. They're just
Yeah,
doing it out of like devotion to Mont Blanc.
yeah.
Um,
Volunteers.
yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, so it's kind of
Because I think that we haven't mentioned as well is that it seems like they're suggesting that it's not a murder in Mont Blanc's case. It was a tornado.
yeah. He was killed because of a tornado apparently,
Yeah,
and but the scientist says no, no, that's not right. You got to find the murderer for me. And he's all right.
yeah, yeah,
So
that's right. And I think this is the bit where then he goes to the scientist for the checkup,
yeah,
and they have that whole discussion about how he's like talking about getting some time away with his wife, and I think the guy asks him, he's like, "Have you been having that dream?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, I have."
mm,
Uh, and he's like, "Yeah, we should talk about that the next time you're back." Um, I also think at that point, does he not see that they're getting rid of Robbie's body.
Yeah, he comes out the building and the dumper truck's getting rid of the Robbie's body because it's going for scrap, and he he didn't say anything, but he was taken aback by that.
He
Notably,
says it. He says it's junk. He
yeah,
refers to it as. Does he not? Does it not like trigger
that's
a memory in him?
that's the yeah that's I think that's the worker was saying that to him. He's
Yeah,
kind
the
of
worker's like, yeah, it's just junk.
and it does trigger memory because he kind of spaced out for a bit,
Yeah,
and it had like a guy with old guy with glasses, which I'm
yeah.
wondering if that's connected to later in the episode
I
because
wonder.
it takes a big leap soon. Um, so he does that, uh, and it does
This is
that.
when he goes to see the maid,
It
the Robbie's wife.
goes back to see Robbie's wife because he's taking the chip out of the robot because the guy says, "Can I take it?" Oh yeah, you can take anything. The body's junk. So he takes the chip and then
Yeah,
offers, "Do you want Robbie's chip so you can have his memories?" And it's like, "Yeah, okay, let's do it." He does it, and it's like, "All right, I'm going to take it out because it can be quite hard
yeah.
if you come in trouble." And basically, she watches it, and then she watches the death, and then she was, "Oh," and then wait, well that's strange. And he's like, "Well, oh," and then she's like, puts it on viewer, and then sees that Robbie was distracted for a split second when the assailant came to because he was ready, and then he picked up something jumping from the building of the murder case.
Where? Yeah, because they
And
did say like it was very surprising that the guy had managed to do so much damage to the robot officer.
yeah, yeah, and it's unusual for him to take down. But they spot a speck of things. So it looks like a guy jumping from building to building,
Yeah,
and ascertained it wasn't a robot, but wasn't human either,
interesting.
which
Very very
is
interesting.
very interesting. And so, um, it leaves at that. He talks to the criminal, and they were like this, and then
It's Brow 1589 is the name of that murdering robot.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, the kind of conversation is around like uh you're right, like he suggests exchanging the memory chips, and because he shows him the photos, and he's like, oh yes, those horns, they remind me of the god of death.
mm,
It's from a European legend, and Brow mentions Hades and Pluto,
mm,
and that
yeah,
obviously, gets he quite interested. And I think he mentions as well, he's like, he'll strike again, and it's likely that the culprit, I think, as you mentioned, is like, it's probably one of these 6 high class robots capable of mass destruction,
yeah,
like Gesicht.
yeah.
Um, and
And then
then it switches up.
yeah, it changes it to like another episode, but it's the same episode.
I don't know about you, but I'm already so in on all of this. Um,
Oh, it's more brain food than Chargeman Ken was,
yeah,
and you
it's
watched
like,
65 episodes of that.
yeah, brain rot.
Yeah,
Um, but
yeah,
yeah,
it
we
was.
we go to a stately manor in the middle of the Alps, by the looks of things, or
I
at
think
least certainly in a mountain range.
yeah,
Um,
I think it's back in the Alps where
and
we meet the composer.
Duncan,
Yeah, Sir was it Sir Peter Duncan?
I can never remember. Yeah, all I remember is he calls him Sir Duncan.
Mhm.
Well, I say he. We haven't introduced this character yet. But basically, it seems that Sir Duncan has been awaiting a new butler, and the one that is delivered to him is a kind of very tall, thin robot with a kind of blue cloak, and long extended arms, and a face that kind of reminds me of the Battle of the Planets costume.
All right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think so.
Like the
Yeah.
kind of red and white helmet type thing with the visor that you can't really see through, that comes down over the nose, and you just kind of see the mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. He's got a wee mouth, and yeah, he's got like pokey eyes.
I love North 2, which
Yeah.
is his name. He
North
introduces
do.
himself. North number 2.
Yeah.
And Sir Duncan is like, yes, how imaginative, a direction and a number.
Yeah. Yeah. He's not fans of machines for some
No,
reason.
in fact, he does question, because of course, him about his experience in the military,
Mhm.
and continually questions him about his part in that same war that Mont Blanc had been a part of.
Yeah.
Although he seems reluctant to
The-
say his
yeah.
part in it.
Where North Two is very intrigued in the music that composer's making, and the composer says, "You can't do it. You're a robot. You can't do these things.
Yeah,
Stop
he's
it. Stop
like
this."
very aggressive around. It's like, no, you can't pause. It's not about, it's not about being right. It's about knowing the music and feeling the music, and yeah, it's interesting. This is kind of like a probably more difficult to kind of go through this scene by scene by scene, but it's sort of like a kind of those two characters getting to know each other, and at the start, certainly Sir Duncan being very difficult and very just against anything that North 2 says or does. It's never good enough. It's never right.
I mean,
Um,
I think that's more just against society because he was like a composer, was successful in movies and stuff, and he got
that's true.
lots of money and that. And then apparently fell out of fashion, and he was like, "Huff, these guys don't know Jack. I can still compose. I just don't want to." Is what he's basically saying, pretty much all the way through it. And then he keeps trying to write this one melody, and he keeps ending it, and you keep hearing it repeatedly slamming on the keyboard with like, "That's not right. That's not it." And
Yep,
then North Two hears someone in his sleeps, kind of like humming the
humming it.
song, and he's
Yeah,
like, "I think that's the song," and he's like, "No, shut up! You don't know what you're talking about," type thing. And then it gets to like a point where um, Sir Duncan basically says, "You know what? I'll tell you the truth that you don't know about me." And it's, "I was an orphan from Bohemia,
Bohemia. Yeah,
and my mother left me for some rich upstart and
yep.
put me in an orphanage. And then I got really ill, and no doctor could do it. But this Japanese guy came in, which I was wondering if that might be a reference to maybe
To
was it
Astro Boy.
Blackjack?
Oh, oh wow. Okay,
Just
wow.
because he
That's a
came
deep
in,
cut.
he came in with a, you don't see the Japanese surgeon, and he's just a black coat person, and he was astronomical, and he was the one that sailed to save him.
To be fair though, as well, is that
Was it
um,
Blackjack?
Blackjack was a surgeon.
Yeah.
But the previous works of Urasawa was Monster, which was about a Japanese surgeon in Germany. So
Oh,
you
maybe,
know,
maybe.
maybe a little bit of a hint to previous work there.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
but yeah, he explains about his past and how he was rejected by his mother, and
the orphanage,
um,
the orphanage and school wasn't kind to him, and he lost his
nope,
sight at an early
yep,
age because of that disease and his operation. Um, and then he's basically lived his life in kind of weird vengeance against her. Uh,
uh, yeah, and North, basically this kind of the back and forth continues of him explaining how much he hates machines and how much he hates society.
mhm.
He refuses to to not. He refuses to see basically because he knows it would involve machines, and he
Yeah,
doesn't want that.
yeah,
And we get to the stage where North 2 is becoming really increasingly interested in music, and keeps trying to play the piano, but is told to stop. He can't possibly do it. Like from just frustration to just raw anger of like even the audacity that a machine would try to tell a composer how a piece of music would go.
Well, I mean, it's don't know. It's kind of that way inclined, I suppose, but I think it's just basically says no, you won't be able to put any soul into it type thing.
Yeah, but like I say, I think you're right to a degree as well, where it's kind of this. There's a lot of self doubt in him that he is worried that it will be right, because
Yeah,
he, the great composer, who is now, I think we see him at a certain point in this episode, like fielding phone calls from prospective people looking to work with him, and it's not for any of his new stuff. It's all for
yeah,
his work from years ago, and how he's now worried about being a has-been who can't create anything new and anything beautiful anymore.
yeah, yeah. So at that point, he's essentially tried to fire Naruto twice. So
Yeah, he's like,
get out of the
just
house.
get out.
Get
Yeah,
out of the
and
house.
he's like, I see you've decided not to go
Yeah,
again.
yeah. And then he disappears for some time, and he's like, "Oh, he must have gone. He must have taken the hint now." And then that's when he gets phone calls, and then North Two comes back, and basically goes, I was away. Yeah, I know. Why are you back?" And it's like,
Yep.
"Well, I actually went to your hometown, to Bohemia, and I found this old guy. He told me that the tune that you're playing was from this young lady, and this young lady is actually your mother, and she's actually was always looking out for you, type thing." And then they played the tune, and it's like, "Oh yeah, that's it." And then he completed his. He then agreed for North to stay with him, and he will
Yep.
teach him piano at that point. And then,
Does he not ask? Does he not ask if he can sing it for him?
yeah, I think North is like,
Is
"Can I
that?
sing it to you?" And he finally does it after telling the story
Yeah.
of
I really
what had
like
been.
that scene actually. I think
Yeah,
it's a really, I like. I'll be honest. Like I really love the relationship between Sir Duncan and North too. Like that kind of, you know, uh, willingness to serve and just wanting to be a part of something. And I think it's like for North too. Like in particular, the idea that you know Sir Duncan is so insistent about him telling him about oh, how many other robots have you killed?
mm,
What of these? What has your weapon of a body done? And he's like, well, I don't ever want to go back to the battlefield.
yeah.
It's like it's not what I want.
I don't want to be known for my battlefield work.
No, and I like I really like that that narrative is that here you have like it's like the kind of comes back to that sort of the here's what you're made for, so you should that determinism of like you were made to do this, so you'll do this.
Mm,
And like North's just refusal to accept that. It's just because he doesn't feel he knows it's not what he wants to do. Like it's that feeling that he has. It's yeah, it's really really good. It's really
yeah,
good.
yeah, and it's kind of like the same for Sir Duncan in
Yeah,
that aspect. He doesn't want to be just known for those movies. He wants to be known for other things as well.
exactly. And they share that common thing is that
Mm,
they don't want to be known by their pasts. They want to be defined by their actions at
yeah,
present. And after North 2 reveals to him like you were never abandoned, your mother cared for you, and you know they they kind of are able to form
Bond.
more of a relationship and bond together. And we see
Mm,
like them kind of like digging out the snow, and like the snow falling on top of North 2 and piling up, and Sir Duncan finding that hilarious.
yeah,
um and we
uh,
see them spending time together and him learning piano, and it's
yeah,
nice. Like it's just genuinely nice.
yeah. Just note that before North Two came back at that point, he he's showing his self doubt of like, I can still compose, I just don't want to. And then it's like,
Yes.
well, maybe I can't compose now.
Yep. You're
Uh,
right. Yeah, yeah. He gets to that point where he's like, he's justifying it. He's like, I can still do this. I just don't want to. And then he's
yeah,
like, but yeah, what if I do want to and I can't? And that's what's happening here. And I think like that maybe does resonate a little bit with him enough to kind of be like, oh yeah, I want to be known for who I am now. Like
yeah.
I don't want to be just defined by who I was.
And then he also goes into the part of his hatred with his mother was like he bought the castle. This is the castle is her mother's rich lover had, who basically for some reason didn't like stay with her. But then it turns out
Yeah.
his mother actually went with him so she could pay for the medical bills to get him
Yep.
better. Anyways, that's that. And then he finally finishes his
Yeah.
melody and calls for North 2 to come listen to it.
To
And
come and listen.
But then North 2 says, oh, I can't. Not now. There's something coming towards us.
And it's not good.
It's,
Uh
I did hear about the Mont Blanc, so you can. We've now set the start of this kind of like tale in the past of all the
yeah.
previous events, and it's worked on because it went through seasons, so maybe a
Yep.
year or two. And then he kind of goes out and detects this thing coming. So this is coming. Mont Blanc was partly killed by a tornado. There's a tornado coming. It was 10 kilometers
Yeah.
away.
It was really close.
Yeah,
This is his Sir Duncan's like, don't go, and he's like, and he says, don't worry, I'll be back soon. You'll
yeah,
hear it then.
yeah. And then he has to go. So he goes
Yeah.
and takes off his cloak, shows all his like weapons that he still has,
Yep.
and still have bullets in them. Apparently,
Yep.
maybe. Don't know. Don't see the
Maybe.
fight. And and they fly into the big storm cloud. He drops his
Yeah.
legs off, disconnects his legs,
Yeah.
and flies into
And
the
sort
storm
of
cloud.
like flies upwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a kind of some sort of battle that I think is happening, but we're not privy to, and Sir Duncan can hear it happening, but obviously can't see what's
yeah,
going on.
it's like thunder flying out this cloud,
Yeah.
and there's a big explosion, and he was saying stuff. Can't remember what he was saying, but like he was basically saying, "You're a good boy," type thing. As this big flaming ball of fire is just
He can hear
eject
it. He can hear North too
oh
singing the melody as
yeah.
he's as that fireball is falling to the ground,
Mhm.
and he realizes that North 2 is no more.
Yeah. Well, we believe he is. We don't know.
Hmm?
We
We
don't
don't.
know.
Yeah, I guess like he.
It's,
Well, that's
it's assumption.
Sir Duncan is crying
Mm.
because he fears that his new companion has died.
Yeah. There's certainly a big fireball fall arcing away from the castle further into the mountains. It's
Yeah,
falling out the cloud after the
yeah,
big massive battle in the sky.
yeah. It
Uh,
definitely doesn't look good. Put it that way.
yeah. And
I
then
think that whole sequence is so incredibly handled. It again looks gorgeous, and I think the narrative around like him finally being able to hear that piece that he helped him put together, and like feeling like he is now going to be known for what he did.
mm,
Um,
yeah.
but North 2 not really being able to get that chance.
Yeah, yeah. And after that it's cuts away back to Gazil Gazik.
Gesicht. Yeah.
Yeah. And the couple of kids going to school. With run by him in the rain, and then this other kid's kicking a stone, and then he goes, finds a snail, picks up the snail, puts it back, and then Gazis goes, "Oh, I see you found the snail." It's
Mm-hmm.
like, "Yeah, I did. Uh, I believe you're also called Adam."
Atom.
Atom.
Yep.
And then the boy looks up with red eyes in his gaggle, and episode ends. And
Yeah.
that's the face on the title card, man.
I struggled not to just watch the next one.
Uh, it was good. I was enthralled. Oh, I'm not going to lie. It
Yeah.
certainly. But like I said to you earlier, I don't know if that's because I watched Chargeman Ken for 2 months.
Well, I think it's an interesting point. Is basically we've been other than like Dragon Ball, which we've been watching as well, which is kind of fun and good. Like I I think Pluto is really genuinely a cut above. Like
Yeah,
it is like
definitely.
um
It's definitely a good excuse. It's thoroughly enthralled me.
yeah.
Dragon Ball is. Yeah, Dragon Ball is Dragon Ball.
Well, I think like we said is that Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, they might not be the best shows ever, but they're certainly like probably the most influential. So
Yeah,
if anything, like I can enjoy them for that.
yeah,
Uh, but yeah, Pluto, like I will read you a review that I think quite encapsulating of my opinions. It says Pluto is another masterclass in storytelling by Naoki Urasawa, and the adaptation is nothing less than that. An incredible story told with such care, and bravo to everyone who worked on this amazing show. Like
yeah,
that's very much my opinion on it. Is I was very emotionally invested from like the get. I think Gesickt is a really interesting and unique character. The story of North 2 and Sir Duncan genuinely upset me. Like it's so sad. It's such a sad story.
yeah.
Um
It
yeah,
is.
I loved it.
They built it
Absolutely loved
well.
it.
Just for the final half hour or 40 minutes of the show, they built that bit well. Certainly, this is the first half of it. Certainly laid the concept that robots aren't as cold-hearted
Yep.
beings in this universe. They have feelings, they have dreams, they have relationships.
Yep.
They basically are just another
They're
form of
people
humans.
in every
Yeah,
other sense. Yeah.
yeah.
Uh
And I don't know how much in this world it hasn't really been portrayed as such as they're essentially enslaved. They are certainly enslaved to the point where they aren't allowed to kill humans.
yeah, yeah, there's a safety mechanism, so there's like a lack of trust there, obviously, as we've seen why, I guess. But they
Yeah,
seem to have like lives.
yeah,
They work, they have relationships, like you said. It's so like there's something there for definite.
yeah.
Um
So here's the question:
okay.
Who done it?
I don't know. I
I I
don't
think
know.
I think Gazis. It was him.
You think so? I
Yeah,
hope not.
man, it was totally him. He has a secondary co-op life, man, killing these things, and he doesn't
You
know it.
think that's what the dreams are?
That's what the dreams are, man. He's been
Oh
brainwashed,
man.
or he's going to die at the end of it.
I hope not. I've already like I was genuinely very sad at the loss of North 2. I thought the like really liked the performance of that character. Just like as this kind of gentle giant was super cool.
Yeah, the
Also immediately saddened by the death of Mont Blanc, a robot I never heard talk or have anything about. But as soon as I saw him, I was like, man, that sucks.
this reminded me a bit of near autonomous.
Automata? Okay.
Yeah, kind of
Okay.
some of the robot designs and stuff.
Yeah, have that kind of vibe.
Well,
Um,
mainly Mount Blanc, to be honest.
okay.
Um,
The next big question is though, Colin, is how do you rate this?
how do I rate this?
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's say an 8. Certainly up there. First episode, 8. That's pretty good.
There. I am straight in at the gate a 10.
Going with the 10, yeah.
Yeah, like this.
Ah,
This is everything I want in not just anime. I think that's the thing as well. Is I think it's like it's very easy to be dismissive of things and talk about them as just anime.
mhm.
And like, well, that's not specifically insulting or anything like that. I think some things in a medium as anime are definitely better.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily need to see a live action Trigun or Chainsaw Man. I think those are perfectly good the way they are. Um, but in this example, like Pluto to me is a beautiful example of how you build a world and how you like just pull in a viewer immediately. You like I am like straight away felt levels of empathy for characters and the depth of their personalities was really endearing and like again it looks and sounds incredible as well. There's nothing half-assed about it. It's just it just looks amazing and is amazing. But if you gave me something with that level of emotional investment and that much a unique and interesting plot in any medium, I'd immediately be drawn into it. I think it just so happens that in this case it's an anime.
yeah. I mean, it's a good show, man. It's isn't watered down by the fact that it's an anime. It's maybe enhanced
No.
more because you can get your crazy robot designs and stuff, and you don't need the CGI and stuff to create that world as much. Yeah, I don't know. Selling it as a 10 straight up is like there's no room for movement. Huh?
Oh, like the thing is that I think even if the rest of the show doesn't live up to that,
Mhm.
like I could hold that piece of media that piece of media that first episode and just say, is like, do you want to see like a perfect episode of television, like a perfect episode where like you like you said it like it draws you in, it invests you get glimpses of the world, you understand the narrative, it teases and pulls at you, it gives you characters that are highly empathetic, it lets you build relationships with people that are barely there like
Yeah,
very quickly, and I don't think it does it in any sort of in a way that feels like it's taking advantage of your senses or anything. I think it feels very genuine.
mhm.
They build they very quickly build a sense of genuine empathy and sympathy with a lot of characters, which I think is not an easy thing to do. So to do it so effectively and evocatively, I think is just just
Yeah,
proper perfection.
yeah, uh, yeah. I don't know. I still think I think an 8 is
I,
good for me.
I think that's fair. Like, and
Yeah,
I think the thing is I think I hope that there'll be a good payoff to this, and I am like genuinely really curious to see where this goes. And I think like I'm if anything, like if I wanted to like distill it down to, I think even that sort of mini narrative of half of the episode around Sir Duncan and North Two, I
mhm.
think is just, if you had given that to me as like here's a short story
Yeah,
about these two characters, I would just have devoured that. Like it's
yeah,
perfect. It's such a great narrative.
yeah.
Um,
It's
but to wrap that in the story that I think is already really good, in a world that's already kind of interesting, and pull that in even further, yeah, it's just really cool.
it seems weird though. Like I say, I think this issue would have worked in a 2 episode format. Like,
I I guess so. I think
because
the benefit though is that you get the hook of like, here's the thing, and you're like, holy crap, this is where we are, and then it cuts, and then you kind of like you're thinking for a good bit of it, you're like, what? Okay, like I'll go along with this, but what is happening?
what's this got to do
And
with
then
the rest of
yeah,
it?
what? And then all of a sudden it hits where it's like, oh, we never left this place. Like we were always here. Like in this world, we were always in this narrative. This
Mhm.
wasn't an escape. this was like a build up to something and to like provide that additional context in a way. And I feel like
Yeah.
in order to make that hit harder, I feel like that had to be done like in a
One.
continuous line. I think it had to
Yeah.
be that impact. I think the impact is softened if you leave it and then come back to that episode that's nothing to do with it, and you're like, weren't we here?
Yeah. I suppose. Yeah. Uh, maybe. I don't know.
But before we call this to a close, either way,
Mhm.
I would, however, like to read you one of the reviews I read on Rotten Tomatoes for
Another
this.
one.
This one is not complimentary.
Oh, all right.
This is half a star out of 5.
Yeah.
The anime tries to paint itself as thought-provoking and emotional, but the way it tries is shallow and almost juvenile. With barely a thread of mystery to draw the audience, we're dragged along the cheap, shallow, and very long narrative. Not recommended.
All right.
And like I looked at that and I was like, that is almost the opposite reaction I had to that. Like, I don't think there's any pseudo intellectualism here. Like, obviously, there's very sort of high thought topics around, what constitutes life, what doesn't. Where's the control over robots? What is a robot? What is all these questions around perception of reality and free will? I think are inevitably happen in a show about robots.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't think it's cheap. I definitely don't think it's shallow. I think it might be shallow in the way that it doesn't just cram it down your throat.
Yeah.
It's just there.
I don't know. Is that for the whole show or just for the first episode?
That's for the whole series.
Yeah. Maybe it
I mean,
changes.
maybe it gets really bad.
Yeah.
That's not the suggestion that I've read by the number of reviews of the episodes specifically, though.
Yeah.
The star ratings stay consistently above 8 out of 10 on IMDb,
Oh well.
with a couple of them heading into 9 territory.
Well, all we can do is wait and see.
Yeah, because we'll be back next week to talk about more Pluto, which means you've been listening to Who's That Anime, an anime podcast all about, suspiciously, anime.
Is it?
So I'm told. I don't want to get too deep into it.
You fooled me.
But
Fooled me again.
fool me once, fool me twice. But you can find us at our home, anchor.fm/who's that anime, and we can be found where all good podcasts can be found. If you want to support the show, a super cool way to do that is to leave a review. If you've already done that, or you can't due to the way you listen to the show, then if you like what it is we do, supporting us by telling a friend is also a really cool way to help us out. We have a Facebook page, that's facebook.com/who's that anime. We post the occasional anime meme and the latest episode releases. We have a Discord group. You can find the link for that in the show notes. We also have YouTube, where Colin painstakingly puts together the video versions of these episodes. We also have the podcast RSS feed in there now too, so you can listen to podcasts on YouTube if that is your desire. Colin and I also occasionally play video games, and we do so at twitch.tv/couchfuel for Colin and twitch.tv/hailpayman for myself. You can also find archives of all the content and streams we've done for those by going to youtube.com, and you can search for @couchfuel or @hailpayman. And lastly, we've very recently released a Patreon for the show. If you want to support us in that kind of way, you're absolutely welcome to. By subscribing to the Patreon, you'll be able to get episodes earlier than you would before, and obviously you'll be able to listen to our new podcast a little bit earlier, which is 5 Minute Fusion, our journey through Dragon Ball and everything Dragon Ball related. So yeah, like that's a cool way to support us. We'd really appreciate anything. But to clarify as well, as the show will forever remain ad-free, there is no intention to have that. You will be able to listen to them free, as you always have on the normal channels. You can just get a little bit of an earlier access if you want to support us in that way.
Yeah.
And that's us.
Yeah, sweet. Not bad. It's a bit longer than our normal episodes of Chargeman Ken.
Yep,
Only,
those were
well,
definitely getting shorter.
yeah. And then they got long again in the last one.
Oh, I sure did.
Yeah. Anyways, uh, that's us for
Yeah,
today. We done.
we are.
We
We'll be
are.
back next time.
Yeah, same anime place, same anime time, same Pluto discussion, whether it's a planet or whether it's a dwarf planet, whether it's not a planet. That's the discussion that I'm going to have about Pluto.
It's. I mean, that's fair. Do you know it has never, since its discovery, it has not gone round the sun once?
Yeah, yeah, it is far out there, like far out there, man.
That's what they. That's why they were saying that. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, they were talking about
far out,
Pluto.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, that's us, and we'll see you next time.
yeah. Ciao.
Bye, folks.
Bye. Bye.